Good morning and thank you for attending our press conference today. I'm Adam Froman, CEO of Delvinia. This is an exciting time for us to be able to share our latest DIG report about e-democracy and citizen engagement. If they had the option to do so, 80% of Canadians would choose to vote online in a future election. And 77% of Canadians are in favor of having the option to vote online in elections. Those are the results of a national poll we conducted this past weekend through our Asking Canadians online research panel. And they speak to the reason why we're here today, for the release of the Delvinia report on internet voting in the Town of Markham. I'd first like to introduce and acknowledge a few people who are here today. First, Nicole Goodman, our principal researcher. Rupen Sioni, Vice President Practice Leader from Environics Analytics. Wendy Souquier, Vice President Research and Innovation from the Ryerson University. Andrew Brower, Deputy Clerk, Town of Markham. And Tibor Turi, Manager of the Regional Office, NSERC, Ontario. Delvinia is a company that's committed to innovation around understanding and creating customer experiences using digital technologies. And we've applied our approach to working with the Town of Markham since 2003, when the municipality chose to introduce internet voting as an option for the municipal election. At the time, social media was still in its infancy. Smartphones were only being used by early adopters. Facebook had not yet become a mainstream brand outside of colleges and universities, and Twitter hadn't even been created. And there were no Canadian academic researchers studying the impact of internet voting in a binding election in Canada. Markham first engaged Delvinia to help them communicate this new and innovative voting option to their residents. The town recognized that offering internet voting would not simply be a build it and they will come solution. Rather, they were embarking on a journey that would not only be a fundamental change in how their voters would come to expect to participate in future elections, but that the world would now be monitoring and scrutinizing their every move. There was no turning back. While the risks surrounding voter authentication and technical security are valid concerns, Markham has approached these concerns through a rigorous and well-managed implementation process, always keeping the integrity of the election process at the forefront of their decisions. In the 9 years since Markham first implemented internet voting, Markham has embraced the criticisms against internet voting head-on. The significance of Markham's decision to implement internet voting is larger than simply offering an alternative voting method to increase voter turnout and improve accessibility. Markham has taken on a leadership role to pave the way for other governments to realize internet voting as an option for citizens to vote. Recognizing our role as both a participant in the process as well as an observer, as part of our voter outreach campaign, we began collecting surveys and publishing reports about the attitudes and behaviors of Markham residents as they experience the option of internet voting as their way of participating in the election. In early 2010, when we began discussing Markham's plan for the municipal election, we decided to approach the academic community to find a researcher interested in building on the data we collected in the previous 2 elections. We wanted a researcher to provide a scholarly and independent perspective on the data we plan to collect during the 2010 election, as well as a comparison to the data we collected in 2006 and 2003. We wanted a researcher who was willing to join Markham's journey that we were now a part of. Nicole Goodman, a PhD candidate specializing in Canadian political institutions and alternative voting methods, was that person. With the support of Ryerson University's Department of Research and Innovation, Delvinia secured an Engage grant from the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council, or better known as NSERC, to engage Nicole, giving her the opportunity to become the first Canadian university researcher to study internet voting in action and to ensure the findings would not only be relevant in business and government circles, but would also withstand the scrutiny of the academic community. Today, we're releasing our report, E-Democracy and Citizen Engagement, the Delvinia Report on Internet Voting in the Town of Markham. This report is here to provide those interested in better understanding the impact of digital technologies on citizen engagement with tangible data along with an unbiased, balanced, and independent perspective. The report is based upon exit surveys with those that voted online in the 2010 election. The research also included a national survey conducted with our Asking Canadians online research community regarding Canadian attitudes towards internet voting. The Asking Canadians survey over-indexed with younger voters to assist Nicole with her research. A special contribution by Environics Analytics using its PRISM C2 segmentation system allows for some additional explanatory insight into the attitudes and demographic characteristics of online voters and is attached as a separate portion of the report. The full report is available for sale through our Delvinia website, but at this time I'd like to turn things over to Nicole, who will present as a summary of key findings from the report that we are making available for download from the Delvinia website as part of our Delvinia Dig Thought Leadership Series. Nicole?
Thank you. I'd like to thank Adam for bringing me on as a part of this research and for Ryerson and NSERC for supporting the research. So internet voting in Canada. A little known fact is that Canada is actually the world leader in internet voting with respect to municipal elections. Internet voting first came about in Canada in 2003. It was used for the 2003 NDP federal leadership race that elected Jack Layton. Several months afterwards, 12 municipalities and townships in the province of Ontario offered internet voting to their electors, one of which was Markham. So Markham was the first major municipality in Canada to offer internet voting to electors. Since then, over 50 municipalities in Canada have offered internet voting in over 80 elections, reaching a potential 1.8 million electors. Other election agencies at different levels of government, Elections Ontario and Elections Canada, have been conducting research also to perhaps pursue internet voting in the future. Elections Canada is looking at a trial as part of its 2008 to 2013 strategic plan in 2013. Excuse me, and Elections Ontario currently has a directive to report back to government on the feasibility of network voting by 2013, which may involve a 2012 trial of electronic voting. So why Markham? Why is Markham so special? Well, Markham is the only municipality to systematically collect data about the behaviors of election stakeholders. In 2003, 2006, and 2010, they did online exit poll surveys of internet voters, but also in 2010, they added a candidate survey as well to explore the effects of the process on other election stakeholders instead of just voters. Markham is the largest municipality in Ontario to offer internet voting and the first major municipality to offer internet voting. They've done so in 3 consecutive elections and have formulated a model of development for other communities. So key conclusions from the report. What are some of the really interesting findings that we can take away from this? Well, one is that middle-aged and older electors that have committed voting records are the most likely to make use of internet voting. This is really interesting because a lot of people say that internet voting is going to attract young people, which it does, but because they vote in lower numbers, it's the older electors that are making more use of internet voting. These are also the electors that report using the internet less, and this is a comforting statistic showing that you don't have to necessarily be completely familiar with the internet to make use and take advantage of the accessibility and convenience of internet voting. Internet voting has permanently transformed advanced voter turnout in Markham, going from a few thousand electors prior to 2003 to now a steady base of 10,000 electors in 2006 and 2010. The report also shows that the extension of internet voting can encourage young, infrequent, and non-voters ages 18 to 24 to participate in elections. It shows that online voting is about convenience and accessibility, and that users are overwhelmingly satisfied with the service. In terms of candidates, it shows that it shortens the campaign and how important the front end of the campaign is, especially when internet voting is offered in the advanced polls and more electors are going out and participating. Candidates also overwhelmingly reported that it improved turnout, and that was their perception. Finally, in closing, although there's many more important insights that you can get out of the report, it's really crucial moving forward that we continue to collect attitudinal data and behavioral data from election stakeholders regarding internet voting so that we can learn about the effects on the candidates, on the citizens, on the election agencies, and hopefully develop and improve the models of internet voting that are surfacing in Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. One of the key partners has been Ryerson, and they've been a great partner to Delvinia in helping find the ways to bring the knowledge and expertise of university researchers with innovation firms like our own. Delvinia has worked with Ryerson over the past 5 years to achieve this, and we could not have engaged Nicole without their support and the support of NSERC. I'd like to introduce Wendy Suke, Vice President Research Innovation at Ryerson University.
Thanks very much, Adam. I'm pleased to be here today on behalf of Ryerson, and we know that the town of Markham has long been a leader in recognizing the value of technology-driven innovation. And with Delvinia's expertise, Markham has become a leader in using technology to drive innovation, and this project is just one example. Ryerson was very pleased to play a role in this report by helping to secure an Engage grant from NSERC, and we want to take this opportunity again to thank NSERC for their continued support of great research at Ryerson and NSERC's recognition of the growing importance of market-driven innovation. Fostering partnerships with companies such as Delvinia, with governments, with nonprofit organizations, and working with the Tri-Council funders like NSERC is a priority for Ryerson as we continue to grow our presence both locally and internationally. In fact, Ryerson's research trajectory has been nothing short of remarkable, doubling research funding and research productivity in the last 5 years. And in the last year alone, we have doubled our industry-funded research. Our reputation is strong and growing, and I think really what distinguishes Ryerson and what is the key to our success is our commitment to solving real-world problems, to advancing market-driven as well as discovery-driven research to move forward Canada's innovation agenda. When it comes to innovation, Ryerson is truly a leader. Our students and our faculty approach projects with a pioneering spirit and a unique attitude. Lots of our researchers are working on discoveries that they hope someday to commercialize. At the same time, we are developing a new model of market-led innovation zones which bring together industry, researchers, and government funding to create new processes, new services, and new products. We launched a digital media zone, which Delvinia is also part of, that empowers young people to explore and commercialize their ideas. It's a place for doers, not just dreamers. And the results are quite remarkable. Already we've created over 350 new jobs and 36 startup companies, many of which have outgrown the digital media zone. So on behalf of Ryerson, I want to congratulate Delvinia for yet another breakthrough, for today's announcement, and we look forward to our continuing relationship. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wendy. Delvinia started working with Environics Analytics to take the vast amounts of data about digital behaviors we were collecting with our Asking Canadians online research community, and to be able to link it to their popular PRISM C2 segmentation system. This provides a robust profile of digital behaviors of all Canadians. I'm pleased that Environics was able to make a special contribution to this report by providing a profile based upon their data of those voters, based upon the data that we were able to collect on the voters who voted in the last Markham election. I'd like to now introduce Rupen Sioni, Vice President and Practice Leader from Environics Analytics.
Thank you very much, Adam. It really was our pleasure to contribute to this study. Environics Analytics is an organization that specializes in using a neighborhood segmentation system called PRISM, and that helps us to understand more about different populations of interest, and in this case, internet voters in Markham. So what we did was we filtered the internet voting information through PRISM and PRISM divides Canada into 66 different lifestyle types based on demographics, locational attributes, and social values. What this approach did is it allowed us to do three things. One, we were able to understand more about the different populations and their propensity to vote using the internet in that election. Two, we can supplement a whole host of information sources beyond what was able to be collected in the survey itself and the study itself. So we can link to other syndicated surveys that can support communication and outreach, learn about social values, etc. And third, we can use this information to project the data to other areas of Canada where we can understand the propensity for internet voting beyond Markham's borders. So our findings showed that in a multicultural municipality like Markham, it was the non-immigrant neighborhoods, the areas that had lower concentrations of visible minorities, that had a higher likelihood to vote. In our terms, it was segments like Money and Brains or Winner's Circle, as we've named these different neighborhood types. The populations with higher concentrations of Asian populations actually had a lower propensity to vote using the internet voting facility. Areas like Asian up-and-comers and South Asian society. So this could have some implications down the road in terms of outreach and promotion of internet voting. Internet voters were more likely to be in professional occupations, they were well educated, and they had incomes around the average for the Markham, the city of Markham, the town of Markham, sorry. We were also able to understand the internet voters' social values by linking to the social values survey that we have linked to our system, which allows us to understand that the internet voters were less motivated by privacy concerns and had higher enthusiasm for technology, as one would expect given the technology focus of internet voting. Thank you.
Thank you, Rupin. Given the proliferation of digital technologies, governments are realizing that e-democracy is about more than simply offering citizens a means to transact or obtain public service information. The future of e-democracy is about listening to citizens and becoming part of the conversation. Similar to the business world, the idea of creating meaningful and relevant customer experiences has reached government. Governments need to accelerate their efforts to understand the attitudes and behaviors of their citizens and create experiences that will increase citizen engagement with government. Internet voting is one such way. We have some people here that can answer questions. We have Nicole and Rupin and Wendy, as well as Andrew and Tibor from NSERC. So if there are maybe some questions coming in from our website, but if anyone here has a question for someone of our group, please ask.
Yeah, I was wondering if some of the biggest concerns with internet voting have been addressed by towns like Markham and others. Why isn't it more widespread these days? I mean, the internet's been around for as very popular medium for about 15 years or 20 years.
You probably have the more balanced perspective.
It actually
come to the mic.
It actually is very widespread. Like, if you look at some of the countries that have implemented internet voting, Estonia has done it at all levels, particularly nationally and in the extra-European parliamentary elections. Switzerland has done it in their cantonal elections, which is like the equivalent of provinces. But in terms of Canada really is being a leader in internet voting, Canada has the most instances of internet voting use in binding local elections than any other country worldwide. So when you say, why hasn't there been more pickup? There's actually been tremendous pickup. Since 2003, we've seen it grow from 12 municipalities in Ontario to 44 municipalities in the 2010 election, which I graphed it in a report that I recently wrote, and it's a huge increase, reaching 1.8 million electors total. The fact that other provincial election agencies and our federal election agency are looking at adopting internet voting, party leadership races, not just when it first emerged in 2003 with the NDP, but there are also other leadership races that have used it and are currently exploring using it. So internet voting is really taking off in Canada. I think some of the hesitation is obviously they want to make sure that the public is on board. You have to maintain the integrity of the electoral process and mitigating risk. Everyone has concerns about the internet, so I think that's probably one of the main issues. And there's also different types of internet voting, so deciding which type to move forward with is sometimes a difficult task for election agencies.
And we have a question here from one of our online viewers. He's wanting to know, for other cities that might want to follow Markham's plan, what were some of the biggest technical challenges the municipality had to overcome during the early years? And what are the pitfalls other cities will want to look out for to try and avoid?
So here, let me see. I'll reread that question, just so that. So one of the questions that came through the website, for other cities that might want to follow Markham's plan, what were some of the biggest technical challenges the municipality had to overcome during the early years of this? What are the pitfalls other cities will want to look out for and avoid? Andrew, are you interested in answering that?
I can only speak to the more recent experience.
So you can speak to this past, your past election experience.
Yeah.
Andrew Brower, Deputy Clerk from the Town of Markham.
Yeah, so in Markham's experience, we began the process of reviewing our risks and concerns and technical issues at a very early stage in the process. So for us, we put together a very extensive project plan that addressed risks from different aspects. Risks with respect to the voting platform, with respect to what type of concerns voters have themselves. So it looked at it from a number of different perspectives, and if I was to recommend something from another municipality, it's beginning the planning process early. There's also obviously a political decision that's being made in this. I think Nicole mentioned that every jurisdiction has different types of risks and has to make decisions on its own. So I think for Markham it was the right decision, and it may not be the same for other places, other jurisdictions, but for us it was about early planning, understanding the risk profile, and moving forward that way.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yep. Sure. I was just wondering if someone could go through maybe some of the main drawbacks or risks when you're implementing an internet voting system.
You can answer that. What are the main concerns that you had implementing in terms of specific concerns that you addressed in your planning process?
Well, it's partly to do with the design of the platform itself. So we know that we always have to keep in mind that it's the most basic of users. Okay, so from a design perspective, we have to make sure the platform is in an accessible format. With respect to accessibility, it also includes persons with disabilities and people who do not speak or have challenges with English, and that's the case in a diverse community like Markham. So in our design of the platform itself, it had to be compliant with the highest accessibility standard, but it also had to include information or instructions in other languages. So we provided for that to help facilitate the process. So I don't know if that helps.
One of the challenges that we faced in all three elections was the ability to update the lists prior to election day. So what you didn't want to happen is someone to vote online and then run over to a polling station and vote again. And Markham made a decision in 2003 that they've upheld to have it for early voting. So then it actually closed. They usually had the weekend, or I think last year was at 24 hours or 48 hours to reconcile the list so that on election day they had the most up-to-date list, and there were no concerns about any, in terms of the voter list. Other than that, the selection of a technology provider is really paramount to making sure that that everything goes well, and Markham's gone through a rigorous RFP process to select a technology provider to go with, and they've worked with 2 different technology providers over the past 3 years, and it is really the job of that technology provider to provide all that support during the election, leading up to, and during those 5 to 7 days that early voting's available, and so which is pretty much when everyone is on eggshells and making sure that nothing is going wrong. Any other questions?
Great.
All right. I'd like to thank everyone for either attending online or coming in person. Everyone is still around here if you have some additional questions for people, so thank you. The report is available on our website as well as a replay of this press conference. Thank you.